everybody, I hope that you're blessed and that you're all doing well. Thank you for joining me in yet another video. In this one, we have a pretty interesting topic, is how to develop your intuition. Now, before we take a deep dive into this deep discussion and topic, become a YouTube subscriber to my channel. Also share, like, and subscribe. Thank you all so much for your support of my channel. Now, let's get into this topic of how to develop your intuition. If you are looking for information regarding rituals or something weird or spooky, this is not the video for you. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the principles behind developing your intuition and things to consider, but not necessarily any any rituals, anything like that. If you're looking for that, this is definitely not the video for you. But if you want more of an understanding of what intuition is and the role that it plays, and why we should have a greater sense of development in that area, then this is definitely the video for you. And I just hope that it's a blessing to your life. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to discuss, before we get to the how to develop, before we get into the how, I want us to look at the why and how intuition functions and how this information functions, right? So the information that we're talking about and the knowledge through intuition, the knowledge that we're getting to is supernatural. So it's information that you're tapping into that's beyond logic, human logic, and what makes sense to some people, right? It's beyond conscious reasoning, right? It's beyond evidence, the evidence that we need to have to know that it's true, right? So we're talking about supernatural, something that's beyond the physical realm and plane, information that's out there that we can know about our lives and even about the lives of others, and even events, right? So this is the thing that we all should know and think about, right? So we live on this planet Earth. We exist here, we're living here. And what we need to know about Earth is that Earth we're on a planet that's on a timetable. And whatever is in time can be known. Whatever is in time has a beginning and an end. Whatever is in time is complete. So, for example, before you and I were born, when we were developing in our mother's womb, we had all the genetic information that was needed. We had all the genetic instructions when we came into existence. When that sperm met the egg, we had all the instructions that we need for us to be who we are today, right? And that came through generations. So it wasn't just our parents' genetic information. It was their parents and their parents' parents, and it came down through the ancestors. And it was just so many different generations to now, right? So we had all that we needed to be who we are today, physically, right? So if someone passes away and they dig up their bones, even after you die, if they're able to extract and to take the genome and to get the genetic information from that person, they can determine what age they were when they died. They could determine how they physically looked while they were living. They can determine what their diet was. They could determine all kinds of things through our current technology. So what I'm trying to say is that whatever is in existence can be known. Whatever is in existence is complete. So we were complete when we were in our mother's womb before we were born. All of the information was already there. So what I'm trying to say is that when we were born and when we came into existence, we had a set of information, physical information with us. So we carry this physical information with us. It's our genetics, right? So alongside of that, when we came into existence, there's another set of information that came along with us into existence. That's on a spiritual and metaphysical plane. And I call it the sort of like the spiritual DNA, right? So there is the information and the instructions for our story, for our journey on earth, because everything that is in existence serves some sort of purpose on planet Earth. So you and I, we have a purpose. And with our purpose is not just our physical information, it's also our spiritual information alongside of that. So we carry a story. And right now we're moving through our story. We're moving through the information of us, the history of us, and we're living it right now. So if we're talking about God and spirituality and things that are that's everlasting and that's eternal, God is outside of time. So from a spiritual perspective, our lives here on earth, it already happened. So for things outside of time, and we're talking about the almighty, all-powerful God, it already happened. It already happened. We're just moving through this thing called time, because remember, we're already complete, right? We're just moving to this thing called time to get from our start to our middle and then to our end, right? So what I'm trying to say is that alongside the physical information that we carry with us, there's spiritual information, and it's our story that is connected to that. So it's important to be able to connect to your story and to get information regarding your life and your purpose when you need it. And that's why it's important for you and I to develop our intuition, because there, and that information that is supernatural, that is beyond the physical, that is beyond this physical plane and beyond human logic. When people think they know, it is helpful to us because it will make being able to develop that muscle, that intuitive muscle, will make our lives here better and easier. And we will become wiser, and we will make better decisions and better judgments for our lives if we're able to tap into our intuition. And that's why it's important for us to develop it. So I want you to know, if you don't get anything else out of this video, is that the information that you need, the answers that you need for your life, it's already there. Okay? Whether it is regarding your purpose or why you're here, what you need to do next in your life, the information is already there. Now, there's a bit of a caveat with that, is that, when it comes to information, and because we're moving through a timeline, there's certain times when there's information that we shouldn't get yet. And things that we shouldn't know as of yet. And there's things that we can know and we should know about our future that will be good in a present time. It just really depends. And that's why it's important, as you develop this intuitive muscle, to also be connected to God, so you get the information when you need it. And you can know things about the future in the present when you need to, right? But then there's certain things in the future that you don't need to know, because it won't serve you well in the present, right? As you're living now. So I just want you to know that there's information out there, not even out there with you. I'm sorry. There's information with you that you and I, we need to learn how to get access to. So I sort of explained how it functions, intuition, and this knowledge. So now I'm going to tell you how to develop this muscle. I'm really just going to go through the principles. So the first thing to consider is, in order for you to become a more intuitive person, you must be devoted to the truth. You must be open to the truth. You have to be as honest as you can possibly be, because you're not going to get that level of knowing, of that supernatural knowing, in lies and deception. And we have to be open to information that's true that might be unpleasant. So sometimes, as we're developing our intuitive muscles and this skill, and it's actually a part of our nature, it could become difficult, especially if you're a highly sensitive person like me. It could become difficult because you're coming across sometimes information that's unpleasant, some things you may not want to know, but that you really need to know. And sometimes the truth can hurt. Sometimes the truth but it can also set you free. So In order for you to be in a more intuitive person, you've got to be open to the truth, and you have to be real, or else you're going to have a really hard time tapping into that realm and getting the information that you need for your life and developing in that way if you're not devoted to the truth. And the truth is the truth, and you have to be devoted and dedicated to it. So there's truth that'll make you happy, and truth that'll be like, oh man, that's rough. But you have to be devoted to the information. You have to be open to the information that you receive. A lot of people, they block themselves when it comes to knowing certain things because they only want to know certain things, so they put their limits. I don't want to know that. I only want to know this, right? But if you're devoted to the truth, and you're dedicated to being open to the truth, and you don't live in lies and deception, then yeah, you become a more intuitive person. The next thing is to be still. Being still is very important, to be present. And being still requires you to, it's basically an alignment and a oneness with your soul, and respecting the present, and respecting the pause, and knowing when to slow down, and knowing when to observe, knowing when to hear, knowing when to watch, and just learning when to be still, and learning when to quiet your soul, your mind, your spirit. And when you learn, and when you develop the practice and the discipline of being still, information will begin to come to you. But if your inner self, and if your mind is chaotic, if you don't have control over your thoughts, if you're unable to settle yourself, or if you're thinking about this, that, and the other, and about things that really aren't important, if you're out of focus, if you're scattered on the inside, if there's no peace within, it'll be hard for you to become more intuitive and to be able to get the information that that you need to know. But the thing is, when we practice being still, and we practice things like meditation and prayer, and just learning when to just quiet down and when to stop, then we'll get answers, right? And that's not even super deep or super spiritual or even religious. If you just sit in nature and just watch things, you'll learn a lot, right? So be still. That's another thing. That's another principle to think about. And the last thing I just want to talk about when it comes to developing your intuition is, and this is a major thing, if you want to know more, if you want to know more supernaturally, you've got to embrace your limits. Now that seems the opposite of what other people, especially people that are like in the motivational speaking space, will tell you. Like, no, you got to determine that you're limitless. Well, here's the key to that. The key is, there's a certain level of humility that you have to bring if you want to know more. If you approach having this knowledge with the mindset of how much I know, or thinking you know everything, or thinking, so you have to be open to the point where what you think you know, you may not know. So if you're open to that point, and if you're open to change, if you're open to new information, then your intuitive muscles will begin to grow. And when you get the understanding that you don't know everything, and just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean that it isn't. And there is limitations to your intellect and what you think. When you come to the space, and you come to the space like that, then when you understand your limits and that you are a limited person just like everybody else, then you can become limitless. Then you can know anything you need to know about your life that will serve you well right now in the present. There isn't anything that God will withhold from you if you come in that spirit, if you come with that attitude, if you come with that disposition. But if you're coming in arrogance, if you're coming in, and this is why so many people struggle with spirituality or even religion, but more so spirituality, is because they're not open. They're coming with it. There's a certain level of arrogance that's there, is that what I believe and what I deem that's logical and that makes sense is 100% true. And I'm not open to learning anything else about what could be. And then God to tell us, when we adopt that attitude, well, that's all you'll know. So for you, if you believe that there's no God, guess what? There is no God for you. So approach the space with humility and with a sense of, I'm still open to learning. And when you have that attitude, what will happen is your intuition and that your intuitive muscles, you will begin to grow. And information that you need for your life will just begin to come to you naturally. And, those are the things that I wanted to share with you in this video about intuition and about getting this supernatural information and about tapping into and getting what it is actually another form of, intelligence. Getting this sort of intelligence that's inside of you, that's inside of all of us. So understand that, number one, you have to be devoted to the truth. Number two, be still. Number three, embrace your limits so you could become limitless. I hope that this video has been a blessing to you and to your life. Please share, subscribe to my channel. Also press the like button. Once again, I thank you for all of your support, and I will see you in the next video. Take care and God bless.